and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV that has finally reached the final. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge Season 40 Battle of the Eras Episode 18. It feels like we were never gonna get to this point, but we finally have the 8 finalists locked in and doing part 1 of the final, which is pretty grueling. But before we can get into the details, let's first start off where last episode left off, where Tori won the final elimination against Cara Maria, locking her spot into the final, and the 8 finalists of Jenny, Michelle, Rachel, Tori, Bananas, Derek, Jordan, and Kylan are sent to their quarters for the night for a nice pre-packaged spaghetti and meatballs on their thin bed pads / hammocks if they want it. Everybody's trying to get comfy or as comfortable as they can get. That is, except for Jenny, who has quite a bit to say. She's complaining about her hands being dirty when eating, which I agree, it is gross. She's even using this newscaster voice, trying to get other people involved, and let's just say it gets a little bit grating after a while, especially to Jordan, who is already getting annoyed with Jenny, who is annoyed with the conditions. On top of that, Michelle even picks up her bed pad at one point and then just drops it on the floor, and all this gunk and everything, all this loose particles come flying up, and apparently it hits Jordan in the eye, so Jordan is just annoyed on top of annoyed. Now let's get to the morning of day 1 of the final, where everybody meets TJ up at the top of the deck, where he gives us what these finals will entail. He lays out the prize money distribution to the different placements. First place, man and woman, will get $400,000 each, where second place will get $75K each, third place will get $25K each, and fourth place is walking home with an experience they'll never forget. And some say that's priceless. The final format, at least for this day 1, is that the competitors will have to jump in, swim to various checkpoints, do the checkpoints, and they will be awarded tokens for their placements after those specific checkpoints. The Sinister will be the start and finish line for each checkpoint. So there are 3 checkpoints, technically 4, but 3 checkpoints that they complete on day 1. So you're gonna start off on the Sinister, swim, and your placement will be solidified once you return back to the Sinister. This is the point where TJ mentions the karma points and the karma vote, which I was the most interested to hear about how it would fit into this final. But all TJ says is that the man and woman with the most points after all the checkpoints, and then combining them with the karma points, that will determine the winner. What does that mean for the karma points? How is the percentage wise of determining who wins this thing is based on how they play in the final to how they get in their karma votes. And I'm happy that they showed some of the ex-cast members coming back and talking more about the finalists, but at the same time, it gave us nothing. And it stinks that there's no transparency to this, because it just feels like the karma points could have a big swaying factor on who could win this season at the end of it, and we just don't know what that all means. I mean, Jenny even talked about it. She's like, I don't like that it's coming down to a popularity vote, because I know I'm gonna have to go all out during this final, because I know people weren't giving me 5s. And I get it, that's on Jenny for not being popular in the house or having the strong connections, but also at the same time, if she balls out in this final, that should be enough to prove that she should win this final, and it shouldn't come down to a karma vote. I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird situation. I hate that it's just a variable looming over the entire final. I don't want another star situation in All Stars 4. I don't want another Challenge 37 final moment, you know? I just want the best players who are playing at the top of their games to win. And it just feels like this is just another addition to, we gotta keep friendship in the game, keep everybody happy, don't make anybody mad, don't make any big moves, because it could come down to one little vote that somebody doesn't like you. Anyways, let's get to day 1 of the final, where we get to checkpoint 1 called Sandblast. The players are going to have to swim to shore, have to retrieve 5 puzzle pieces one at a time, bring them back to their puzzle station, put together this interesting puzzle, especially when you look at this puzzle from behind, but put together this 3D puzzle. Once you get the check, then you can swim back to the Sinister and then get your placement token. Derek, who finished last place in the final daily challenge for the men, he will be getting a 3-minute time penalty, which is weird because I understand that they wanted all the men to play their hardest in the final daily challenge, but it just feels a little weird that Derek is like getting this penalty and then there are no penalties for 4th place in a checkpoint or something like that or anything like that. So it just feels a little weird, but Derek does an incredible job. Even with a 3-minute time penalty, he is able to make up so much time, especially the run retrieving the pieces, because Rachel says it's like a mile round trip to go from your puzzle station to retrieve the piece to bring it back to your puzzle station. If that is true, and that is a 5-mile run, that is in Derek's wheelhouse. So Derek went from 4th place for the men all the way up to 2nd place in no time. Almost the exact opposite happens for Michelle early on, where her swimming gets her 2nd to the beach, but the run dropped her all the way down to 4th place, but get that puzzle, get that swim, and she is able to make up so much time, finishing 1st place in this first checkpoint. You have Jordan, who looks like he is in a tier all by himself. It's so impressive how much Jordan is able to just put so much distance, no matter what it is, between him and the next placing person. Jordan is the first to arrive to the beach. He's the first person to get a check, and he is the first person back to the Sinister. Derek and Jenny finished 2nd, Bananas and Tori finished 3rd, and in 4th place is Kyland and Rachel. What I really like about this final is, 1, it's something that we've never really seen before, but 2, the Sinister actually moves. They take the Sinister from location to location when they need to change the locations for the checkpoints. That is really cool. It reminds me of that weird rusty up bus in season 33. So after checkpoint 1 and after all the players are handed out their tokens, TJ tells them to go down a level, get into their tiny circles as they pull up the anchor and move to checkpoint 2. The second checkpoint is called Go Ship, where the players are going to have to swim to an abandoned ship, have to swim underneath the ship to see a legend of different pictures. Then they have to recreate that legend on their puzzle station. And there are very minute details that people are going to have to be aware of. One picture in particular that got Jenny and Michelle was the one barrel that had a skull and crossbones. This set back Jenny a little bit, but she was still able to finish first for the women, but this tanked Michelle's round. She even asked for a check first and got it wrong, and she had no idea what she got wrong. She thought she had everything perfect until she finally realized that the first barrel needed a skull and crossbones, but Michelle, who arrived there 2nd, just behind Jenny, was leaving there 4th and locked in 4th place for the women. So how we see this finish is Jenny finishes in 1st, Tori finishes 2nd, Rachel finishes 3rd, and Michelle finishes 4th. Jordan was out in front. Again, he's just in a league of his own. He gets to the boat first, has an incredible memory, puts the puzzle together, and then is the first one off swimming back to the Sinister. Bananas and Derek, they finish one after another. Bananas didn't go all out for the first checkpoint, so he was able to outpace Derek in the swim back to the Sinister, so he finished 2nd for the men behind Jordan. Derek finishes in 3rd, and way behind everybody was Kyland. Once everybody is back on the Sinister, they go down, stand in their little circles, anchors up, and they head off to the 3rd and final checkpoint of the day. And in this checkpoint, it is called 1,000 steps. All the players are gonna have to swim to shore, follow a path that is 1,000 steps, then they have to follow a path to a beach, swim out to a floating platform, see a picture on the palm trees, which is a skull, then they have to swim back to shore, get to a puzzle station, and recreate the skull on their puzzle station. Once they get the thumbs up, they head back to the Sinister. Same old song and dance. Jordan is off the Sinister. He is swimming like a dolphin, gets onto shore, and he is just off. He doesn't seem like he ever stops. He never feels like he is losing his breath. There is one point where he's like vomiting off the side of the boat after the first checkpoint, and I think it's just because maybe he drank too much salt water, but he doesn't look exhausted at all. Jordan has one setting, and it is go, and it's also cranked up to 10 at every single stage. I will say that Jenny does keep up with Jordan at this 1,000 steps checkpoint, and I'm very impressed with Jenny because there was so much about her asthma multiple times during this season, whereas here, she is also just get up and go. Her lowest placement was second in the first checkpoint, and then she finishes the last two first and first. The only criticism that I have for Jenny is that she wasn't fully mentally ready for this final, I believe. And trust me, I'm not saying like, oh, this final is easy mentally and all this other stuff. You're exhausted. And what they were putting these players through in the overnight portion, I completely understand, where you can get a little loopy and everything. But there's a point where you gotta focus and you gotta lock in because the final is here. This is it. This is what you've been working for this entire season, and it just felt like Jenny was coming up short in that aspect. I mean, let's go back to the beginning of this episode where she is like kinda losing it already because she doesn't have her coffee, she doesn't have her chocolates, and her hands are dirty while she's eating spaghetti before the finals even began. And then we get to the overnight portion, and Jenny is just done. I'm getting ahead of myself. But speaking of losing it, let's go to Tori and Kyland in this checkpoint because they're the only two that really have a tough time. Tori is keeping pace with Rachel, who is in second/third place. However, when she went to go get a check, she didn't check her own puzzle to know that two pieces were swapped. So when she got a that is wrong, she had to go all the way back to the floating platform, check the skull again, and then come all the way back. She just had a mental blunder at that point, but she was able to fix it quite quickly. Now, Kyland, on the other hand, who was trying to keep it together, and he was doing a great job up to the final checkpoint where he was just tired of it. I think he was tired of getting fourth place. He was tired of swimming so much, and that this whole final hinged on swimming abilities. By the time he got to the one clue board during the 1,000 step checkpoint that said you have to swim out to a floating platform, he took a whiz. He took a whiz on the sign. He even pointed it out. I don't think we've necessarily really seen anybody do this, but it just proves how done Kyland was at this point of the final. By the end of this third checkpoint, you have Jordan and Jenny getting first place again, Bananas and Michelle getting second place, Derek and Rachel getting third place, Kyland and Tori getting fourth place. One person that is also frustrated with their performance is Rachel, who got fourth place in the first checkpoint. She never saw anything like that coming from her in this final. She came here to win. She came here to compete. She feels like she's letting down her family. She's letting down Arrow 1, where she's the only one representative of Arrow 1. But as Banana says, this is a long, long final, and one segment that is very long is the overnight portion. For the overnight portion, everybody is given a bag of like thousands of these coins, and you have to count all of the coins in your bag while putting them in your bin. Try to keep the count of those tokens in their mind. Make a guess of how many tokens were in their bag, and whoever is closest will get the first place token. Whoever was second closest will get the second, and so on and so forth. If that wasn't hard enough as it is, being both physically and mentally exhausted, the challenge has them now working in 30-minute intervals where they can count for 30 minutes, and then once those 30 minutes are over, they have to go up to the deck and sing a song for 30 minutes. The song apparently is called Show Me the Way Back Home, or Show Me the Way to Home. Everyone's in good spirits for the first hour, but get to 2 a.m. after swimming for miles and miles, running for miles and miles, doing multiple puzzles, and just being physically and mentally drained by 2 a.m. Everybody's temper is very, very thin, especially Jenny. She's now talking about how her back hurts, her neck hurts, her arms hurt. She's super tired. What is the point of this? She's barely singing during the 30 minutes up in the deck. She threatens to just put all the coins in her box instead of counting it just so she can be done with it. I get it. She is so frustrated and she is so tired. but she keeps on verbalizing it and vocalizing how bad she's hurting to everybody that it gets everybody really, really annoyed with her. Even Jordan is telling her to stop multiple times. And we end in the cliffhanger of everybody in the overnight portion. This is a very interesting first part of the final, and I think it's going to get even more intense as they go through the second part of the final. Just some quick stats, just so we know where everybody stands. Jordan finished with an average finish of first place, finishing first place in all 3 checkpoints up to that point. Jenny has the best average finish for the women with an average finish of 1.3. She had 2 first place finishes and 1 second place finish. For second place at the moment, I have Banana's average finish was 2.3, 2 second place finishes, and 1 third place. Michelle is second, having an average finish of 2.6, getting 1 first place, 1 fourth place, and 1 second place. Third place currently for the men and women is Derek and Tori. Tori has an average finish of third place even, and Derek is in third with an average finish of 2.6. 2 third place finishes and 1 second place. Kylan has a worst average finish over everybody at 4th place, getting 4th place for all 3 checkpoints, and Rachel has the worst average finish for the women at 3.3, getting 2 third place finishes and 1 fourth place finish. But we have no idea what everybody's karma points look like and how much percentage wise that makes up the final score, so anybody could be anything. But overall, I thought the final was interesting enough. I like that it's something different that we haven't really seen before. There is a ton of swimming. I like that the Sinister can go from checkpoint to checkpoint. And I like that the final is solo format. I think there was a lot of questioning of whether people were going to be paired up or how they were going to work on this thing. I'm just glad that it is a solo final, that everybody has to worry about their own abilities, competing in the game, in the final, and just having to compete. Again, my only real worry is the karma points. Like, that is the only thing that I'm really, really worried about this final. I think that everything else on this final is fine. Now I turn it over to you. What do you think about this final? Let me know down in the comment section below. Are you enjoying the final so far? Are you not enjoying the final? Either way, let me know why or why not. Why are you enjoying the final? Why are you not enjoying the final? What do you think about the players' performances? Is anybody surprising you? Like, Jordan dominating, do you feel like that is surprising? Kylan not doing so well, are you surprised by that? What about on the average finishing side for the women? Are you surprised that Michelle is finishing so high up for the women, whereas like Tori and Rachel are kind of down in the 3rd and 4th ring right now? What do you make of that? Let me know down in the comment section below. Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting against? Can you believe that we are 1 episode away of seeing the finale and 2 champions crowned? I feel like there was a point where I couldn't see the end in sight, and now it is so close that we can taste it, and it tastes like salt water and desperation, and I love it. But yes, please tell me anything and everything you feel about this final. What do you think about the karma points? Are you worried about their impact in this final? Because I was kind of hoping that the karma points would be used as like an advantage or disadvantage early on in the final, and then we could have just cut them loose and let the players just perform in the final and let their final performance dictate who wins this thing. But now that it's like, oh, the karma points are going to be added into your points at the end to determine the winner, I feel like that's the worst decision that could have been made. This is the star thing all over again. But what do you think about it? Let me know down in the comment section below. I now want to give a special shout out. Thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/AngelKVids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge 40 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace. Also, Happy New Year's.